How long does it take to buy a home in the Nashville, Tennessee area? With our spring housing market really firing up and over 100 people a day showing up here in Nashville looking for a place to live, that's information you need to know. That's what we're talking about today. How long does it take to buy a home in Nashville? Let's go. Welcome back. What is the timeline for buying real estate? How long does it take to buy a home in the Nashville market today? Those are great questions. Every single issue, every single person is different, but there is a basic timeline, and that's what we're going to talk about, what to expect on your timeline in the home buying process. I'm Susan Thetford with Parks Properties, realtor here in the Nashville, Tennessee area and a native Nashvilleian. I'm one of the few unicorns remaining that is a native. I want to make Nashville be an easy place for you to come to live, and to make it your home as well. If that is something of interest to you, I encourage you to please like this video. That'll tell YouTube this was valuable information. Also, go ahead and subscribe. Push that subscribe button down there. Go ahead and subscribe. You'll be notified every time a new video pops up, which is weekly. So I'm asked this question all the time. Actually, how long will it take to buy my house? Well, when somebody asks me that question, they typically are already a little bit down that timeline. As I mentioned, there's a timeline for buying a home. Phase one is simply deciding that you want to buy a home. And that can take, 4 months, 1 month, a week, 4 years. I think of this phase one is almost like dating. When you start dating at 14, 15, I was a late bloomer, 16, you're not thinking about marriage. You're just thinking about having a good time. When you're beginning the first inkling of maybe it's time to buy a house, you may be going to lots of open houses, you may be thumbing through Zillow, you may be looking at magazines all the time. You're not really seriously looking to buy a house. This phase one is simply a phase one. Now, it may well be that once you've been in Nashville a while, you realize, I'm staying. I love this place, but you're renting. Rent is not cheap. Rent here is very expensive. And with so many people moving here weekly, rent is getting more expensive. It may well be that your landlord decided to go up on the rent for next year, and you've decided, all right, $2,500, $3,500, I'm wasting my money. It's time for me to get serious about this. Then you may be moved into phase two. Your guess is as good as mine as to how long phase one will last. So here we are at phase two. Phase two, you're serious. Again, think of it as you've dated this guy, you've dated this girl, and you're just seriously thinking, I think this is the one. She's who I want to marry. You're now deciding you want to get married. Here you have decided, I'm buying a home. I'm going to invest in a home. Phase two must start with going ahead and getting loan approval. Choosing a realtor, if you're going to have one, I highly suggest it, and finding yourself a lender. Now, if you work with a realtor will suggest a couple lenders that they work with consistently. And it's not that we get kickbacks. It's not that anybody pays us any money to refer them. It's not anything more than our experience tells us this lender is good at what they do. They can complete a sale happily, comfortably, with as little inconvenience as possible. This is an amazing lender. He's done this for me over and over again, and I want to help you make this as smooth as possible. Your good realtor should be able to refer you to 2 or 3. Talk to them, sit down with them, talk on the phone at least. You'll get a vibe as to who you feel the most comfortable with, because frankly, you're going to have to expose everything to get that loan. You want to expose it to somebody you feel comfortable with. Now, what a loan approval is going to do is when you sit down with that lender, you're going to give them all the information that you know about your salary, your income, your savings, your retirement, all the things that look at your financial picture. And you basically have that outline under which he can tell you, okay, based on this information, here's the sales price, here's the price range you need to be looking at to buy a home, based on your income, based on your down payment, based on a lot of things. He can give you a general rule. of where you ought to be looking. Now at that point, that's when you should be sitting with your realtor and talking about the entire timeline of what to expect. Now we're going to be looking at homes within this price point. This is when you really get down to a list of the things you want in a home, your wish list of the things you want in a home. Based on the pre-approval amount that your lender suggests, your realtor will take into consideration both the approval amount that your lender suggests that you can be approved for, then we'll put together the list of the things that you said you need to have, want to have, must have in a home, and find you the best possibilities to meet those needs. I want to share with you, first-time buyers especially, you're not going to find the perfect 10 home. I will do a video on why we realtors call us all buyers are liars. And I will tell you, when I'm buying my first home, and I was too, I'll tell you that experience in another video. But when it comes down to it, what your money, what your purse will allow, will define how much on that list you might be able to have in a certain area. Those things are all defined. We as realtors can't just invent just because things you want. We have to go within those parameters too. First-time home buyers, if you find something that's a 6 or a 7 on your wish list out of 10 perfect things, and it has the potential to maybe become a 9 or a 10, if it can become something that gives you a 10, if that's what you're looking for as a first-time buyer especially, go for that 6 or 7. It has the potential. So in phase 2, this could take you a week, 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 months. In our market right now, I will promise you this, especially if you're a first-time buyer, it's very, very, very competitive in the anything under 400,000. It's super competitive. So if you keep looking and are so picky that it has to be a 9 or a 10 and it has to meet all those things, I suggest you look back and say, do I really want to buy a home? Because what's going to happen, and I've seen it time and time again, we're appreciating pretty quickly. If you haven't found something in 6 months to a year, you might not be really a buyer. You're back in phase 1. The market will outpace your money. I've seen it happen with 3 of my buyers. I had to go back to them and simply say, I don't think you're a buyer yet. We're phase 1. That's okay. They really wanted to be. They're kicking with themselves now because they keep thinking the perfect home's going to happen. It's not. At any price point. I'll give you a hint. I've got $2 million buyers too who are searching for that perfect 10. It doesn't exist. Phase 2 ends with the search, an offer on a home, and an accepted offer on the home. When you get to all those things, then you've reached into phase 3. Phase 3, you think, oh gosh, we're almost there. Well, you actually are almost there. It typically, now I can tell you a timeline. It typically will take 30 to 45 days to do the next steps to finally having those keys in your hand. You've got the offer is accepted. Now, and again, this is Nashville, and this is the offer, a typical offer. Everything is a little bit different. You typically have about 7 to 10 days to do your inspections. This is all written in your offer. The inspection clause period is your time to get an inspector in to check heating and air, plumbing, fixtures, roof, any and everything that you want to inspect. That's your time period to do that. That's about 10 days. Then you have a couple days for resolution. The next step is during that period, you've also paid, you've gone back to your lender and you've given him your contract, now accepted contract. He can give you a good faith estimate of exactly, now that you know the taxes, now that you know the insurance, now that you know the homeowner's fees, now that you have a specific home in mind, he can give you every single bit of what your monthly payment is going to be. You also will pay for your appraisal if there is a loan. So first 10 days is typically an inspection period. That's also when you get your appraisals, you're reviewing homeowner's documents, you're reviewing all of that. For a total of 20 days, your lender is now asking you for more paperwork than you can possibly imagine. They will want tax returns, they will want pay stubs, they will want every single bank account that you've got, and they want to see where money's coming from, where it has been, how long it's been there. Look, you're going to be frustrated with it. Get ready. They need to know everything. During this period also, the appraisal will be completed. So now we've assumed we've gotten through the inspection in the first 10 days. We've gotten through the appraisal, and the appraisal came back in fine. That's within the first 20 days of that escrow period, third phase. A couple days prior to closing, you will be doing a walkthrough, a final walkthrough. That walkthrough is to make sure that the home is in basic condition that it was in when you purchased it, and that all inspections, repairs that you requested and was accepted, all those repairs are completed and done. That will be in the first, hopefully, day or so before closing. Again, it's all negotiated on your contract. Any final documentation that your lender wants before final approval will come in that last 20 to 30 day period as well. Prior to, by law now, you have to have your final documentation 3 days prior to closing. So that you might even sign all that documentation 3 days prior to closing. Or you may just see it, and you have the right to see it and to review everything to make sure it's exactly as you intended before you actually close the sale, wire the money, and you're almost there. You're almost there. You almost have those keys, but not yet. Money needs to be wired, all the paperwork needs to be signed, crossed, and recorded. Once it's recorded, then those keys are yours, the house is yours, and you've begun homeownership. So I will say it's very imperative, again, working with your realtor to talk about things. Try your very best to have the closing done in the morning, because if all that documentation and paperwork doesn't go through, and if the wire doesn't go through, the money doesn't go through, and if it can't be recorded by 3 p.m. of the day of the closing, you don't own the house yet until it's recorded. So there you have it. There are 3 strict phases, actually, of home ownership, of getting that home, getting your hands on those keys. The first one, I don't know how long it's going to take. Everybody's different. The second one, I still don't know how long it's going to take. You may look for a week, you may look for a month, you may look for 5 months or a year. The third one does have some pretty strict timelines, and that's going to be 30 to 45 days. Once you have a home under contract, now you're off to the races. So I hope that's helpful to you. If you're considering buying a home here in the Nashville, Tennessee area, you might want my home buyer's guide or check out this video. I know it will be helpful to you finding the best neighborhoods in Nashville for you. If you're considering a move to Nashville, check out my reload guide down below as well. I know it will help you in learning about the different areas of town. Do you really actually want to be in the middle of Midtown Nashville, or do you want to be in an outlying area, maybe Madison or Murfreesboro? Do you want to be near water? We've got a lot of options. Check out that relocation guide. I think it'll help. Thanks so much for joining me. If you can tell, I've got a lot of packing going on right here. I myself am getting ready to move. It's a tough process, but boy, is it worth it. So pretty soon you'll be seeing different backgrounds, a different home. And I think every realtor needs to go through this every several years to be reminded how much work there is to do and how stressful it can be for people, but it's well worth it. Hope to see you soon. Be sure to like and subscribe to my channel. Ring the bell so you don't miss a thing, and I'll see you next time.